Hell yeah.
Okay, we're live.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 15 of the MGF Podcast. This is the show with a temporary name where we talk movies, games, Lego, and whatever else. And joining me as always is Tate.
What's up, everybody? I hope you're all having a great day.
So, we've got not a whole lot to talk about, but that's why we're going to spend the second half of the show talking about Star Wars: The Clone Wars, because Tate and I don't think we've ever really talked about it comprehensively to any really varying degree, aside from like maybe the pre-celebration podcast we did, which was I think episode 5.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into all of that, this channel, MGF Live, the channel with the temporary name supporting the show with the temporary name, did just cross 1,000 subscribers, and that is awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming out and subscribing to this channel and supporting this this little hangout thing that Tate and I have been doing for the last several months. We just hop on here every Saturday, more recently Sunday, and just talk about whatever with you guys while you get to hang out and join in on the conversation. It's been really awesome, and we're having a good time doing it. Even as the show, like continues to evolve, and we're still having yet to actually settle on a proper name for the show, because of course MGF Podcast is kind of more Lego centric sounding, considering my channel is the Lego channel, and so we're kind of trying to find a middle ground name that'll kind of create its own separate identity while still kind of linking the Lego brand in. And so, but 1,000 subscribers, that's so crazy. And like, Tate, I know I said this to you before, but it's like you put 1,000 people in a room and it's like, that's a lot of people. And then, I mean, that's insane to even fathom that. And that's, there's no leftover old accounts from like 2010 in there. These are 1,000 new people that were interested in what we were doing here. Enough to hit a button because they want to catch more of it in the future, and that means the world. So thank you guys so much, and
Yeah, we really do appreciate it more than we can express. I
and
know
it's
at least I
awesome.
do. I mean, this has been so
Yeah,
much
dude.
fun. This has been so much fun to do this podcast every week, and Ross and I probably would have gotten burnt out without the chats. We just want to thank you guys.
Yeah, man, and yeah. So 1,000 subscribers. Here's to 2,000, and just everything the future has in store for this channel as we continue the show. But yeah, so in other news, things that I've been personally working on, I've been working on I have my Avengers Endgame figures, of course, kind of on the down low. Haven't had a video go up recently. Haven't really been tweeting about it or posting a whole lot about it on my Instagram story. But I have been plugging away on Captain America, and I've really been enjoying the process so far. It's really shaping up to be my best Captain America to date. And I actually have a quick teaser here that Tate's got queued up for you guys. And it's a pretty low res teaser. The picture, it's literally just taken from my phone and cropped. It's pretty bad, but it's a teaser. It's a thing, and you can kind of see here that I've basically got the scales painted on. I've been working with a lot of 3D elements on the front of the torso here. You can see the 3D chin strap that was cut from a piece of Cape Madness fabric, and that was very tedious. And the face is fully painted. I'm utilizing Lego's new helmet. There's going to be a lot to unpack from this new cap once I post the picture, hopefully tomorrow. There's still a little bit of work I got to do on the belt. A little bit of work I got to do on maybe the legs and also the forearms before I can get him into a proper pose where he doesn't look under detailed in any spot. So that's always the thing about the preview photos, and that's why when you see the preview photos, literally like most of the time, I've said this before, what you're seeing is probably all that's done. And so that was certainly the case with Iron Man, and certainly and still is the case because I've been focusing on Cap. But yeah, this has been quite a process already so far, and I'm inching closer and closer to the halfway point. I'm getting there slowly but surely. The back is totally blank, but also going to be the least challenging part of the figure. And then I just got to do the entirety of the legs, which is just an extensive paint job. But once I get through all of that, man, the Cap figure will actually be done. Cap surprisingly doesn't. Once you get through all the tough parts, like what I've done already with the scales and the 3D elements and the chin strap and the painted face and all that stuff, it's surprisingly an easy process from here. But of course, all this is going up over on my Patreon first. That's already been going up over there, and the full reveal photo is going to be going up on there today as well for what I have so far. Before I go into making this preview photo that I'm going to hopefully have up over on the Twitters and the Instagrams and the book faces. But yeah, sorry, Tate, this has kind of been a one-sided conversation so far.
Well, it's going to get even more one-sided in a second.
Yeah,
one of us has seen Toy Story 4.
Yes, Tate was the only one of the two of us who saw Toy Story 4 last night. You got a chance to see it. I personally have not, because my sister wants to go see it with me, and she's been busy the last couple of evenings. So we're going to go see it tonight at around like 9:30, so that should be really great. And it's exciting because Toy Story 4, to me,
it was supposed to
I was always excited about it. I heard about what it was going to be, this additional movie that focuses on Woody and Bo Peep, and it sounded like an interesting idea, but of course the question was always why? Why do we need a fourth Toy Story movie when the original trilogy was wrapped up in the absolute perfect way and there was no better ending? And so you hear so much coming from the cast. This was an emotional reading. It was really an emotional production because of how great the story is. The cast really made some lofty, remarks about the movie going in, and so
yeah, guys, this movie was destined to suck. It had a first-time theatrical director. The old cast is burnt out. Tom Hanks has said that he is burnt out on acting in general. I mean,
that's a shame. I didn't know that.
Tom Hanks is incredible, dude. He is absolutely incredible, but he's old, dude. I think he's early 70s. I mean, he's been doing this forever.
Yeah.
But anyway, or maybe early 60s, probably early 60s. But anyway, yeah. I went into this movie expecting something bad, and I came out. I've never cried during a movie, and I can't say that this movie made me cry, but this is the closest I've been to crying in a movie, maybe ever. I came out with, my tear ducts strained, my heart pounding, my face smiling. I mean, this movie, this is better than Toy Story 3. This movie for me was better than Toy Story 3. I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed Toy Story 3.
That's fair, because to me, like with Toy Story 3, I can't really, I don't remember the three films as well as I would like to. It's been a long time, but I do remember not really enjoying the daycare as much as I did the settings for the previous two films. I remember that much, and I know like this movie, I think a large part of it takes place in a carnival, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, it's very deceiving. The trailers for this movie are very, very deceiving.
Yeah, and dude, tell me about it, because we talked about it, and even when the Toy Story 4 trailer came out, I think we were just kind of like, this really didn't do anything for us.
Right.
If anything, it just kind of added to our concerns that this just seems unnecessary. This movie doesn't really look like it's going to bring anything to the table, even worthy of following up Toy Story 3.
So
but
here's the thing, Ross. Here's the thing with this movie. It is such an evolution of the material. Right? It's such an evolution of Toy Story. Toys are starting to take more risks around humans, and they're starting to... These aren't spoilers, by the way, because it's kind of an evolution of the franchise, but they start doing things that they would never do in the first 2-3 movies. I mean, in the 3 movies, they get crafty, but in this movie, it just feels like such an evolution of the characters. These are veteran toys. They are professionals, and they do things that we couldn't have seen before. And I don't know. I mean, I can't talk about this movie without spoilers. So I don't want to focus on this for too long, because this is an experience. These movies, I mean, I don't know how Pixar has made 4 consistently good movies in a row when Finding Dory and Incredibles 2 were subpar. Right?
Hey man, I really like Finding Dory.
I liked Finding Dory leagues and bounds more than I liked Incredibles 2. Let me just say that.
Oh yeah, you didn't like Incredibles 2?
No, not at all.
I bought it and I never watched it. So I haven't seen Incredibles 2. I don't remember the first one well enough, but yeah, dude. I mean, you and I were kind of talking about this a little bit via text last night. It's like, Toy Story, well, there are so many different foundational things that we all come up with. A lot of us will mention Star Wars, and Star Wars is a huge. There are a lot of franchises, a lot of big major things that have had a lasting impact on all of us growing up. But there's just nothing that compares to Toy Story.
Toy Story is kind of that sleeper franchise that you don't address when you're talking about your favorite franchises, but it's such a fundamental thing for anyone that was born in the 90s and later. I mean, if you were like 10 years old by the time the first Toy Story movie came out, I mean,
Tate, any kid that saw the Toy Story movies, it just changed them.
Absolutely.
I mean, of course, you didn't realize it at the time because we were little kids, but it's like you never forget your first Woody or your first Buzz or your first Jessie toy. You never forgot those moments in the movie. You never forgot the experience of connecting to those characters.
And the reason why it's so easy to connect is because we all have a toy, right? Growing up, I mean, even like the soda can that you kick while you're going down an alleyway. I mean, that's a toy from a certain point of view. And actually, fun thing in this movie, which is not a spoiler because we see Forky, but the definition of toy is stretched in this movie, and I like that a lot.
Is it really? Yeah, right, because Forky and there are a bunch of others that aren't necessarily quote-unquote toys, right?
Right, and they do a good job of it. I will say it's not a Buzz situation where he thinks he's a spaceman or anything. It's just very different, and it's refreshing. It doesn't feel like a... I didn't think Force Awakens felt like this, but everybody said that was just a New Hope ripoff, and this does not feel like a Toy Story ripoff at all. This does not feel like a franchise soft reboot. This is a great continuation, a great evolution of the franchise. You see, this is I was telling Ross this earlier, but this is the end game of Toy Story. Right? You can look at it, the first two movies are the phase one, you have your Iron Man and your Iron Man 2, your Captain America First Avenger, your Thor. And then Toy Story 3 is kind of, the Black Panther and the Spider-Man and
But to me, I feel like that I feel like that definition might only I mean, no spoilers obviously, but I can kind of surmise what you mean by that, Tate. And so it's like I feel like, am I right to assume like what you mean by that is like in the sense that Toy Story 3 was the definitive ending for the series, but they could still go on if they wanted to. Whereas the same can't be said after Toy Story 4.
Well, I say Toy Story 4 is an endgame movie because we know that there's a future past endgame when it comes to the MCU, but it ties up some characters very well and it allows some open-endedness. Where Toy Story 4 is allowing the franchise to move forward as opposed to Toy Story 3 being a definitive ending. This is a new passage for Toy Story, if that makes sense. Like, I will not be surprised if Toy Story 5 comes out in 5 years or 10 years.
I mean, listen, man, if they have accomplished this kind of a feat and they have taken a perfectly concluded trilogy, extended it beyond that with good reason, narratively and creatively, I mean, from a story standpoint, there aren't a lot of examples of that.
There are no examples of that, Ross. I can't
think of any examples of that.
No.
Where a franchise ended and then continued successfully with little to no controversy, like Toy Story 4's experience.
No, that's not even. I would say that's not even a fair statement to make because it's not that there's no controversy. It's that they did this so well. And they're reopening the franchise so well. You know what I mean? I mean, I did not have, and I analyze every movie I watch except for John Wick and Godzilla, but this movie, even with analysis, I mean, it's pretty incredible. I felt like I was sitting in the movie theater for 15 minutes. This movie's 2 hours long, and I felt like I was sitting in the movie theater for 15 minutes. Would you say like Endgame there's wasted time? Obviously not. No. This movie is tight. This movie is really tight.
That's awesome.
This is honestly for me right now, and this is somebody who's just watched, the Toy Story films. Like I watched them a couple months ago. Like Toy Story 2 is still my favorite, but this is like neck and neck with Toy Story 1 for me. I mean, this movie was big. This movie was big
Wow.
for me. I thought it was very well done. I would give this movie an easy A grade. I'd give this movie like a 9 out of 10 if I had to rank it, which I don't think rankings are very fair, but
Sure.
I mean, this is
Man, dude,
this is
that's
a
awesome.
this is a
It's a
no.
shame the Lego sets suck.
Right. Yeah.
Lego was like, have some great minifigures, but did you want fun sets? F you. F you, kids.
But guys, please don't miss this movie. See it in theaters.
Yeah, dude.
I just want to say the state of animation is incredible. Toy Story 1's the first fully computer animated motion picture of all time. And I mean, I'm looking at the trailer for the new Onward Pixar movie. This movie looks so good. I mean, we're at a point in animation where water leaves. There was a scene with lamps, with like chandelier lamps, and it looks photorealistic.
Dude,
Almost.
somehow animation has reached a point where it looks in some movies more real than real life, in the sense that other movies combine CG with real life, therefore pulling you out of it. And again, I'm a huge proponent of CG, but I am, still willing to recognize that, when you're in the streets of New York in Infinity War, that's not a real street, and it's very
Right.
obvious. But
I will say though, like, my only
that's
gripe,
cool.
my only gripe with this movie, and this is reaching far, all right, is that there's not many really good Buzz and Woody scenes. Like I said, this is kind of the end game. This is kind of the soft close, but then opening to a bigger universe. I wish we saw more kind of Cap and Tony scenes in this movie with Buzz and Woody.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of like
I mean,
it's kind of like that. Well, I don't think anything can be as bad as Cap only being in Infinity War for 6
oh,
minutes.
don't even bring it up, dude. I'll get upset.
God, I love Infinity War, but that was so not the right call. I don't care how much he was in Endgame. Anyway.
Yeah, Infinity War might be the best Marvel movie made, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it is.
But anyway, yeah, I'm watching the movie and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. There was a part though when we're outside at a playground. The CG is so good it almost pulled me out of the experience. Like for a microsecond though. Like this is not a negative. I'm painting this
because
negative
it's
like this.
too real. You were like, wait, holy shit.
This is so realistic and the toys look so real that when the human characters come on the screen, I was like, holy crap, what just happened kind of situation.
You're like, well, that's not what look. Yeah.
Right, I was like, that
a
is
real
not
person at that point.
Yeah, so it's kind of like in the Lego games. Like if you remember Lego Star Wars and Lego Batman, how there'd be like real things with Lego characters, like real buildings with Lego characters on them. It's kind of like that kind of like unsettling, like whoa. But I mean, it's just incredible how good the animation is. Jay Minecraft just said Toy Story 4 is better than Toy Story 3. I would say so. I mean, this movie, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have so much value in the franchise. I was not expecting to like this movie, and oh my gosh, there were good laughs. There were emotional set pieces. I felt like the humor in this movie was a lot better and less pandery than Toy Story 3. This is bringing us back to the old Pixar humor, like the old like Bugs Life and Toy Story 2, where they would make adult jokes and you'd really have to piece them out. The new annoying characters that are meant to be annoying, like Forky, and then you have the Duck and Bunny, the Key and Peele characters.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good. They're really good.
Dude,
They're not annoying.
Do we know how long the production cycle was for Toy Story 4?
All I know is that they've been working on it for 5+ years, I think, or something like
Oh my god,
crazy like that.
That's insane. It's just so weird to hear that and then just walk into a movie and just watch somebody's, thousands of people's 5 to 6 years of work in 2 hours and then it's done. It's like, wow. It's just, I always try to think about that in the back of my mind, just how much work went into what you're seeing. And it's like, it's hard to even fathom.
Ross, they animated each individual grain of sand and it shows. I mean, it looks so realistic and it is breathtakingly gorgeous. There's a scene that the movie opens with a rainstorm, and I don't think even in a real movie I've not seen more real rain.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, this movie, this is an evolution of the toys. This is an evolution of the franchise. This is an evolution of computer generation. I really know that this movie's gonna fall by the wayside because it came at a weird time, right? Because
You
we
think so?
just had, yeah. I mean, Toy Story 3. I look back on it and like they opened Toy Story Mania after Toy Story 3, didn't they?
I think so.
And like had a big push, like Toy Story 3, like this is the finale. But then this just feels like a. This honestly, when I went into the theater and I was like, okay, this is Toy Story. This didn't feel like an Endgame situation where it was a big, cultural thing. They just kind of felt niche, and that's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, like the same spirit from the audience isn't there.
Right, exactly.
Like it was left in the past, but the movie's still here in the future.
Right, the movie's still here in the future, and it's better than ever. I mean, not better than Toy Story 2, because that movie is a masterpiece. That is the best Pixar movie ever made. But
isn't Toy Story 2 usually the one that people don't like?
No. Toy Story 2 is it's like the universally praised one.
Really? I had not kept up with I have not done my research on how the internet has perceived the Toy Story franchise. Yeah. I mean, dude, after I came out of my Clone Wars bubble in 2013 and took a look around and saw how many people hate the prequels, and that was all so new to me, it was like, man, I never went looking for anybody's opinions on movies after that.
Yeah, no, I usually don't focus on the crowd's opinion, but I genuinely think that Toy Story 2 is a masterpiece. And this is one rung under that, which is the highest praise I can give. I mean, this is not like one of my favorite Pixar movies, but this is the quality, the storytelling, everything about this. I mean, this is top-notch Pixar. Like, Pixar needs to really focus on this, look at what they did well, and say, hey, let's do more of this. I'm not sure I'm not sure of the director's name right off the top of my head. I know he's a first-time director, and the shots that he produced, I mean, the cinematography, which is hard to say cinematography in an animated
This was
movie.
A first-time director.
This was a first-time director. A first-time theatrical director. Theatrical. This is theatrical debut.
Still.
But anyway, the cinematography was incredible. And cinematography is hard to say because there's no camera, but you know what I mean? The framing of all the scenes were great. Josh Cooley, thank you, Mick Frozen Nuggets. The framing of scenes are great. There are beautiful shots, breathtaking. It feels, there's one joke that goes on for too long, but it's not an annoying joke. It's still really fun, and it's entertaining. Right? I mean, like, the worst joke in the entire movie is still a great joke. Like that. Like that's the thing. Josh Cooley made a masterpiece. I mean, it's directed beautifully. All the characters are charismatic with each other. I mean, it's awesome. But I want them to go back to this because when you look at WALL-E and Finding Nemo, well, not WALL-E, but if you look at Finding Nemo, Monsters, Inc. Incredibles, those are all first-time directors too. And then they made WALL-E. They're the same group of directors made WALL-E and Up. Why can't we have that again, Pixar? I mean, go back to the roots, dude. Go back to allowing these first-time directors. WALL-E's my favorite Pixar movie.
How underrated WALL-E is.
WALL-E's by far my favorite Pixar movie. I absolutely
still have the Lego set sealed in its box.
I'm bummed that I didn't get it, dude, because I really want it.
Like, oh man.
I mean, WALL-E is an incredible movie. It is.
Wouldn't it be great if Lego also made Eve?
Wouldn't it?
Anyway, if Lego made Eve to go with WALL-E.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome, but
yeah, I mean,
dude.
Bring back that quality of Pixar. Bring back the first-time directors.
I'm a little concerned because I know the box office numbers are tracking good. Like, the box office numbers are looking good.
Good, not great, is the thing.
Yeah, and that's why I'm concerned. Like, they look really good, but just not astronomical. Which, to a lot of people are like, okay, but it's still really good. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is if the trend continues. Really good might just turn into, for the next movie, just good. And then the third movie in this, hypothetical new trilogy might fizzle out and end on a dud. And God, I would hate for such, if they've crafted a whole new masterpiece with Toy Story 4, I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, no,
because, to use like X-Men as an analogy, right? Like, they came back strong with the masterpiece that was Days of Future Past, and then made a couple more movies and ended on a dud. And, obviously it's really kind of criminal to even use X-Men to even consider X-Men in conversation as a worthy analogy. But you get the general idea of what I'm saying.
So it's really hard because everybody's gotten over Toy Story, if that makes sense. Like the world, Toy Story has passed the world by because it had its conclusion. And it's really upsetting because this is such a good movie. I mean, this is such a great evolution. This feels like, honestly, this still feels like Toy Story, but it feels almost like a spiritual successor to Toy Story, if that makes sense. There's so much new life in this movie. There's so much... You can feel the passion for the source material. And it's a bummer because, like I said, the world has passed Toy Story by. I mean, Toy Story is no longer on the radar.
It's a shame to me if there are kids today that are growing up with parents that just aren't showing it to their young kids. Like that I hope that's not really the case universally around the world, because what a shame that would be.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think that's going to be the case because it's still, it's masterclass in cinema, but I mean, they could make a lot more. They could take this franchise anywhere they want to. And it deserves it. I mean, this movie was great.
Do you think a Toy Story 5 and 6 could amount to what we are getting here at Toy Story 4?
I'll be surprised. Like part of the reason why I have so much praise for this movie is because I'm genuinely surprised.
Right. Like how many times can you do that?
How many times can you do that? I mean, Pixar did it with Toy Story 3. They've done it even more so now. Can they do it again? If they stick to their Pixar guns, what makes Pixar Pixar? The first-time directors, the people that have these big, optimistic ideas and are not yet corrupted by the industry.
Sure.
Then I hope so. I mean, just give us more of this. Give us more first-time directors. Give us, more creativity.
I feel like Cooley must have just really been like they must have seen a spark in that guy's eyes as a Toy Story fan to give him this, because I feel like you just don't see enough of that in the industry anymore.
Right.
These like a major film series is developed by a group of people, or a game series, or a TV series, what have you, and then it's like so many people rotate out of companies and out of positions and out of a line of work, and you have so many new people that weren't necessarily there to work on the things that we love. And so you bring in all these new people who aren't as familiar. They are familiar enough to make a follow-up, but there are so many missed opportunities. And it's like, I feel like that's the case with, Jedi Fallen Order, for instance, if we're looking at Star Wars, or, they're just there when you have so many people rotating out. It's refreshing to see a studio find a guy like him, find people like those who have been working on Toy Story 4 to really make sure that spark and passion sticks with the movie.
Here's the thing, Ross,
because
with Pixar, at least in the beginning, with the first batch of Pixar movies, they would just be ideas in a think tank that would be spearheaded by one guy, and he would be given creative freedom. And that kind of stopped happening when they started making all of the sequels, right? When they just went full sequel time. I wish Pixar would just go back to allowing these people creative freedom over franchises, because this doesn't feel like I said earlier, this feels almost like a spiritual successor for Toy Story, right? This doesn't feel, it's not the same tones as the prior Toy Story movie, so that's getting hard to say. But this is genuinely something refreshing, right? Yeah. And I want Pixar to pursue that more. I mean, because it's just, it's such a great movie, and it reminds me of the passion that's poured into Monsters, Inc., Toy Story 2, Finding Nemo.
Cars 2.
All right, Ross. That's no. No, but let's not have any more of the Pixar sequel treatment. Let's just treat every movie like an original movie, and then we'll get more Toy Story 4.
Hell yeah, dude.
But anyway, I mean, if I keep going, I'm gonna start spoiling.
Yeah. So, okay.
Let's change it up.
Other things that have happened. The tickets for Star Wars Celebration Anaheim went up,
and they sold out in an hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah, they went up on Friday at noon, Eastern Standard Time. And guys, to preface, for anybody in the chat here who has not gone to Celebration or anybody watching, Star Wars Celebration Orlando 2017, one of the greatest experiences of my entire life. About the same can be said for Chicago. But in both of those cases, for Celebration Orlando 2017 and Celebration Chicago this year 2019, the tickets were on sale for at least anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Like, I remember for Orlando, those tickets were up for about 6 months. And you have to understand, this is when Star Wars, this was pre-Last Jedi Star Wars. The world had just seen The Force Awakens and fell in love with Star Wars again. But those tickets still didn't sell out for 6 months. And now, Celebration Chicago, those tickets still didn't sell out for 3 to 4 months. Today, or 2 days ago rather, on Friday, Tait calls me up. I want to say it was Monday or Tuesday of the previous week. And, I'm just thinking, these tickets are not going to sell out. Like, it's just not going to happen. And then we're there on the day, and all the 4-day tickets are sold out within an hour.
Now,
they're all gone.
The thing, guys, I want to preface this by saying, I called Ross because I had seen a lot of stuff on Reddit of San Diego Comic Coners, which are rich San Diegans that buy tickets to any convention and take it over and do like we're gonna see, Ross. We're gonna see Star Wars Marvel mashups at Celebration Anaheim. I want to let you know that, dude.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, we're gonna see those hardcore San Diego only watched the MCU fans. I'm telling you, these people are insane, Ross.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this was just a huge, blatant reminder of just how many avid people and fans are in California ready to go at a moment's notice for anything. I mean, oh my God.
Anything.
I mean,
emphasis
Celebration Anaheim was just announced in Chicago. In April. It's only been a couple months. The word hasn't gotten around that much. But oh my God, was I wrong? I mean, I knew it was possible. That's why I was there to get the tickets with you when they went up. But I was like, oh my God. And the hotel block went up even quicker than Chicago's. Chicago, I was at least able to snag a hotel. I was at least able to get one. Anaheim, it was they were all gone in 15 minutes flat.
Oh my God.
The entire
Ross,
Celebration block. And guys, by the way, I'm not sure if I opened this properly. We're talking about Star Wars Celebration Anaheim 2020 happening next
in 400
August.
Days. Not even
in 13 months.
13 months. I mean, this is insane. It's a year away, and the tickets sold in an hour.
I
never underestimate San Diegans and
Tait. The Saturday
LAans.
single tickets are gone.
Yep.
And the Friday single tickets are about to sell out today.
Yep.
I mean, that's insane. Now, listen. I mean, if anybody didn't get your tickets, I mean, good God.
Yeah, especially
you're going to
need $400.
You're going to need to keep an eye out on eBay and Facebook groups for people selling their tickets from now until August of next year. That's the only shot.
Yeah.
For anybody who didn't get tickets. I mean, I was even thinking about getting a third ticket. I thought I was going to have at least a few days to consider.
Mm-hmm.
But they were gone in an hour. I got 2 tickets and I'm going, man. But I mean, holy crap.
Yeah, guys, for reference, I got my tickets at 9:04. I went into the queue 30 seconds before Ross. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I get in the queue maybe 20 seconds after 9 o'clock PST. And
Mm-hmm.
Ross gets in maybe 40 seconds after. Ross has to wait 20 minutes. I waited 3. And a 20-second difference. There were 20 to 30 seconds in between Ross and I loading in. And I got in 15 minutes earlier than Ross. I had a friend who got into the queue at 9:08. He was in a 45-minute queue. At 9:08, he got in. 45-minute queue. He got a ticket. I have a friend that went into queue at 9:10. He was in a 60-minute queue and didn't get to buy a 4-day ticket.
Oh, my God.
I mean, Ross, think about that. I was on 20 or 30 seconds before you, and my queue time was a third of yours. That is nuts. That is nuts.
I'm an experienced Star Wars Celebration guru here. I mean, Orlando and Chicago, equip me to know how to handle the event. When the tickets go up, I know the process. But it's this was unprecedented. This just has never happened before. I mean, California is nuts.
We are nuts. I will give you that.
I mean, Oh my God.
Let me tell you guys, I am so glad I live an hour away from the convention center because I don't think it would be possible without that.
Yeah, and dude, thank God for you, and thank God for Andrew over at AV, because it's like like I said, we didn't get a hotel through the celebration blocks. I mean, even if we were going to go the route of hotels, and we didn't have like you to stay with Tate potentially, and Andrew, it's like we would have been up Shit's Creek. Like, oh my gosh, it's really freaky. But yeah, anybody who wants to go to Celebration next year for the full event, I hope you guys are able to get your tickets if you're watching this. But
well, yeah, if you want to get your tickets and you didn't already get them, guys, join some Facebook groups, some subreddits that are based around Star Wars cosplay groups and those kind of things. Not cosplay groups specifically, but like the big fan groups, because those people always get their tickets the second they go up, and not all the time can they go.
Also, a really good tip, if you've even got a small following of like, and I say small in I hate to call this small, but unfortunately the internet does perceive it as small. A following of like 1 to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube or Twitter or anywhere like that will get you a press pass, most likely a media badge. So I mean, if you didn't get tickets to Celebration for next year and you're not having any luck in the eBay or Facebook groups, and you happen to have a decent following, whether it be on Instagram or wherever else, you have a website, just something, I mean, it's definitely worth applying. I mean, I've got a friend who's doing that, and he's got in without fail every Celebration doing.
Well, we should have done that. Is it cheaper to do that, or is it the same price?
I think, yeah. I don't know. I haven't actually gone through the media process. I mean, we can talk about it after the show, but I mean, it's yeah, it's definitely a thing. I would be worried because I think there might be things that the media badges don't get you into. Like things that were I remember that was a slight problem with Orlando, where the media badges could potentially become problematic. We'd have to discuss it, and I'd have to talk to my friend Corey about it, my buddy and Bill, because they've done the media badge stuff for Celebrations in the past. But yeah, it's exciting though, because of course Galaxy's Edge opened.
Oh my God!
And dude, I've got no plans to go down to Orlando between now and August of next year. So I think the first time I'm going to be able to experience Galaxy's Edge is going to be 2020 with you, Tate, and we're all going to go together, man. And our friend Eric Patrick Cameron's going to be there, and maybe Corey and Nabil if they can stick around. I mean, if we get the full squad to go to Galaxy's Edge together, oh my God, it is going to be amazing. That's about the perfect way to go to Galaxy's Edge. And I mean, it seems like people have been having a lot of fun, even though the park just opened, that part of the park, Galaxy's Edge. And so, I mean, a year from now, even with Celebration going on, I mean, we can probably still have a really good time. The crowds, I would hope, would be manageable, but
oh my gosh, Ross, I just want to dress up like I want to get Corellian
like Lego
striped
Yoda
military pants. I want to get Corellian striped military pants. I want to get a leather jacket that I put like a smuggler's patch on, and I just want to go and fuck with the actors at Star Wars Land. I came from another star system. I crash landed here. Well, I need some blue milk. I'm getting I'm feeling a little bit ill.
Dude, you are all about this.
Ross, I'm going to go up to an actor.
You want to convince these people that you are straight up from another planet.
I'm going to go to these people and be like, I'm from the Kessel system. I was a miner on Kessel. What's going on here?
Oh, no.
And then I'll be like...
What is that accent?
And then Ross, I'll go up to them and be like, it's the shitty clone voice, but it's perfect for a Star Wars character.
The shitty clone voice? What's wrong with D. Baker?
No. I'm saying my impression is the shitty version, right? No, but I could just run up to people and be like, I was on the planet of Trandoshan. I was hunting Wookiees with the Trandoshans. And then just have them be super confused if they're not a Star Wars fan, to be super on board with it.
Yeah, Tate and I were talking about this. Like, what if we go to Galaxy's Edge and we just keep hitting all the staffers and the cast members with prequel references and see how many of them, if any, they catch? Be like, oh yeah, we were just on Megiddo, but before that we were on Felucia, and after this we're thinking about maybe hitting up Cato Nemoidia and
hang out with the Nemoidians, maybe
find
some smugglers on on
Yeah, but
Coruscant to take
we
us
might run
across.
into like Poggle the Lesser because we know that Poggle was working together with Cad Bane a little bit, and
Right, of
and
course.
see,
Of course.
and they'll just be looking at us like, stay in character.
Ross, we just look at them straight in the eyes and we go, I've traveled to many a star system. I've seen the twin suns rise over Tatooine. I've seen the sky bridges of Cato Nemoidia. And you smell worse than a bantha's arse. And then we just run away from them.
Oh shit,
dude! I want to just go up on stage and start get a convincing enough costume that the other people think that we're workers there.
Yeah,
and just mess with them. You know what I mean? Like see some first order guys and be like, "You're nothing more than a clone trooper or knockoff. Your armor's way worse than the Phase 1."
We walk past like a first order officer with some stormtroopers talking to a kid and just be like, no kidnapping.
No, we just go to them.
The
and be
first order is all about that.
Russ, we go up to a first order stormtrooper and be like, "Your blastoid is weak. They made it better in 20 ABY." And they're like, "What's ABY?" Because that's not even a canonical thing. Oh, that'd just be so fun.
Oh no! Wait, did Lucasfilm officially render the BBY and ABY like time codes?
Oh,
like,
that's not canon. That's not canon.
Oh my god! Well, you know what's funny? They don't have anything better.
They don't. No.
So it's like, I love it how Wikipedia hasn't pulled that from the canon listings. It's like, there's no other sense of time otherwise in the Star Wars galaxy.
But I mean, it makes sense. But like when you look at it in we don't do like pre-World War II and post-World War II. You know what I mean?
Sure, but it helps a lot.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Yeah.
So yeah, man, and speaking of Star Wars, like I said at the start of the show, we've never really talked about Star Wars: The Clone Wars really like too comprehensively. So I figured today, when we're a little low on material to discuss again, we can finally just talk about the Clone Wars, man. Tait, to start off, what was your favorite story arc?
Oh man, my
Star
favorite
Wars
story arc, dude. This isn't my favorite. I'm just gonna say this because I don't want to think too hard right now. But I loved the bounty hunter arc. But with not the bounty hunter arc, but the bounty hunter arcs with the young Boba Fett traveling the galaxy. He has Bosk as his mentor.
Really?
He has all of these other bounty hunters that are teaching him the ropes. I really enjoyed that, man, because the action sequences, dude. Oh my gosh,
they were
awesome.
Great, yeah.
You have Cad Bane that necks his way in a few times. Oh my gosh!
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Dengar, don't forget him.
Dengar, of course. Do you remember the Cad Bane fight when they're on those stone platforms? I don't remember what planet, but it's the stone platforms, and he's just jet boosting between the stone platforms.
Oh yeah, dude, that was when he was fighting Quinlan Vos and Obi-Wan.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
dude,
after Zero the Hutt was murdered.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, that was a good episode in season 2. Man, that was what a crime it was that was Quinlan Vos's like only episode.
Right.
Because Quinlan Vos, if you saw the Dark Disciple, if you read the Dark Disciple book, I mean, no spoilers, man, but Quinlan Vos becomes a pretty major character and a pretty key player in the twilight of the Clone Wars. I mean, bordering on Revenge of the Sith, Quinlan Vos became a pretty big deal.
Okay, I'm gonna spoil it because this comic has been out for 10 years, dude. Quinlan Vos takes I almost said Ahsoka, but takes Asajj Ventress and turns her entire philosophy of what it means to be alive in the Star Wars universe on her head. Quinlan Vos is one of the most dynamic and fleshed out characters. He struggles with both sides of the Force and eventually becomes this gray Jedi before gray Jedi were even a thing. Oh my gosh.
But you're talking Legends.
I'm talking Legends, but Ross, he is incredible as a character. Yeah. I mean,
he's great in Legends and canon.
Even in canon, though, I mean, it's the same story. It's the same story in canon.
What I like about Legends is they address that Aayla Secura is his Padawan head on. She's like his father, right? Wait, that came out wrong. He's like her father. And it's like that is totally lost in new canon.
Oh yeah.
Aayla Secura in canon is still, the apprentice of Quinlan Vos. But she mentions him in her episodes, but he never mentions her ever. Not in his episode in season 2 with Obi-Wan, and not a single time in the entirety of Dark Disciple. It's like they were pretty close. It's like they were pretty much best friends, Quinlan and Ayla. So it's like kind of weird.
Yeah, we never see that dynamic at all.
Yeah, and so I'm saying in Legends that was never lost upon the character. She was, Ayla was always at some point or another either there with Quinlan or being mentioned. Man, what a random place to start talking about Quinlan Vos and Ayla Secura.
Can we just talk about Embo for like 1 second? Because like there's not much to talk about.
Dude, Embo is amazing.
Do you remember the speeder bike fight? The speeder bike fight? Oh my god, dude! When he shoot boulders off the cliffs and they're falling on top of. Oh. Embo is one of the coolest bounty hunters, and I wish he was in Revenge of the Sith. I mean, oh my gosh.
Dude, even the new Star Wars movies, like, think about that. Star Wars The Clone Wars created so many iconic characters in the series. The new Star Wars movies haven't been able to do that, like, in the spin-off movies.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
You've had new iconic characters created, right, in the form of Rey, Kylo Ren, Finn, Jyn, Cassie and K2. There have been some, but man, I just feel like none who are as unforgettable as Cad Bane or Hondo Onaga or Embo. Granted, Embo is a little bit more of a deeper cut for a lot of people, but
here's the thing. I mean, like, who do you remember from Rogue One? Rogue One's a great movie. I remember K2SO. I remember Jyn Erso.
Like, nobody's thinking about Baze or Bodhi Rook.
No. And then what do you have when you look at Clone Wars? All the characters you listed. You have... And granted, they had a lot more time to instill these characters, but you have Savage Opress.
When you think about it in context, the Clone Wars episodes, there are only 22 episodes a shot. And and
a lot of the characters only show up for 1-2 episodes.
It's only 22 episodes per episode, 22 minutes per episode. And, so like take a character like Pre Vizsla, for instance. When you really take stock of how much time he spends in the series, about the same as the movie. Not even.
Right. That's true. That's technically true.
And it's incredible. I mean, it's the Clone Wars is just so responsible, and just for really, for me, it's directly responsible for who I am. The Revenge of the Sith got me started with Star Wars, and there are so many franchises like Halo that I love since, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the Clone Wars is just really what took me from point A as a kid to point B, and I just cannot. I don't even know where to begin, and like in terms of, I guess, to start, like my favorite story arcs. I say arcs because I'm really torn on this. I really love Mortis. The Mortis arc.
Oh yeah.
In season 3.
Oh yeah.
Because to me, that one. I loved the stakes of the Mortis arc. The Chosen One and his master and his apprentice were just transported to this ethereal world where the embodiments of the Force are living and inhabiting this place.
I love the personification of the Force. Might I add, the embodiment of the Force. They're sentient people like anyone else.
Right.
Which we have the midichlorians. We know that there's living aspects of the Force and all that kind of stuff. But this really made me respect midichlorians. And I know that's a weird thing to say. But
listen, man,
I've
never, I wholeheartedly disagree.
Oh, I wholeheartedly disagree with midichlorians.
With this hatred for the midichlorians that I've come to know on the internet. Like I said, after I came out of my Clone Wars bliss bubble in 2013.
Oh, Ross, no, I do want to say though, I think that the Force should be an unknown thing that people harness into, just like arcane magic in any fantasy. So I don't
have a problem with there being a bit of science to it. I really do.
I do disagree with midichlorians, but it makes me respect midichlorians more, knowing that there are living personifications of the Force that are fueled by things that happen throughout the galaxy. I think that is such a great concept.
Yeah, to me, it's like people wanted the midichlorians to remain, wanted the Force to remain this mystical thing this almost this natural, unseen thing that, like you said, people are naturally inclined to be able to access or wield the Force or what have you. But the midichlorians, they just added so much to the universe, added so much to the characters, they added so much to the story that really drove the entirety of the prequel trilogy forward in a compelling way. That, and they also weren't really that intrusive. Like, let's be honest. How big of an impact did it really have on these people's viewing experience who disliked the midichlorians it's like, did it really bother them that much?
I think,
or was it just exciting to say that it did once they got on the internet?
The argument I subscribe to is that the Force should be arcane and should not have an explanation, but at the same time, it doesn't ruin my perspective of the Force because it's still super ambiguous as to what these midichlorians are and how they came to be.
It's like nothing was really answered when the it was just the Jedi Order's measurement. They made a discovery and they were able to measure the qualities of the Force within a person to some extent. You still have Yoda in the Clone Wars, encountering the Force priestesses. You think you can explain them? You still have Anakin, the Chosen One, being teleported with his friends to this other realm with embodiments of the Force. You think you can explain that? There's still the Force is still very much this overarching, unexplained thing. The midichlorians really didn't do much to change that, and I hate that criticism. I really do, man. But yeah. So anyway, you still there, Tate?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm on my phone today, guys, so I just want to make sure I don't just drop. But to me, like I said, the Mortis arc, what I loved about it the most were the stakes of it.
Oh yeah.
I'll never forget watching it, and I thought the Chosen One was amazing and iconic. The test of the Chosen One, where he tames both the light and dark side, the daughter and the son, and that became an iconic scene. It's just really incredible stuff. But then when the series progresses, and then Ahsoka gets turned to the dark side, and Anakin has to face her. That was really dark. And then when the son goes insane and acts and kills the daughter by mistake in his attempt to kill the father, I remember watching that in 2010, and I was like, oh my god, this explains so much about Revenge of the Sith. And this was before the arc fully was released. I hadn't seen an episode of it's called Ghosts of Mortis.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
So,
it lays the groundwork for Anakin's turn, and I think that's the most important.
Right,
thing.
and I just remember that so much, so vividly, watching all Mortis and seeing that happen. I was like, this makes so much sense, because now if you just have the son and the father on this alone without the light, that could explain why the galaxy was plunged into 2 decades of complete darkness. And that but then Ghost of Mortis came out, and then they both, and those 2 embodiments, so you could technically say that balance was restored as far as the physical embodiments of the Force were concerned. But I just loved the stakes. I
loved the fact that the Ghosts of Mortis themselves, that the Force embodiments, they had a responsibility to uphold, because the Force is not just altered by humans, right? It's also very much altered by these entities that exist outside of, I guess, our perceived reality in the Star Wars universe.
That we would have seen in George Lucas's Star Wars had it ever come.
Right. Have you guys read excerpts of the Book of Mortis? Because that is, or the Book of the Wilms, my bad, because that is pretty much what that entire thing is about. God, speaking of the Whims, I appreciate the Yoda finale episode so freaking much. That is that is incredible. That is the Whims. That is what Star Wars was to George Lucas after making A New Hope. And so pretty much George Lucas wrote the Book of the Whims and then wrote Star Wars. And then he used the Book of the Whims to influence Star Wars. And he was going to make movies based upon that, and then he scrapped it and then just kept writing the Book of the Whims and then kind of locked it up in a safe until he started releasing small bits. Right? And to see to see that in the Yoda episode was so incredible. Was so
Now,
absolutely incredible.
Here's my this is the problem with and I love the Clone Wars to death, but unfortunately nothing that is a prequel is safe from this sense that you just had Yoda and Anakin experience and see way too much. As great as all of this was, you know, I mean, Yoda saw the Dark Lord of the Sith they were looking for, saw Anakin decapitate Dooku. I mean, Yoda knew a lot of this was coming, right? And said nothing, didn't do anything about it. And the same goes for Order 66. They had clear evidence that there was corruption with the production of the clone army. There was something wrong. They did nothing. You know, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, they went to Mortis and experienced embodiments of the Force, challenging them, threatening them, offering glimpses into their futures. I mean, but then they just never mention it again. They never go on. You know, they do mention it in that final episode of The Lost Mission, but it's like that should have affected them more, right?
Yeah. But it's so hard because I mean, these
Anakin
stories...
was sent to this. He was sent to Mortis, and it was confirmed by embodiments of the Force themselves that he is the chosen. And it's like, man, he just goes about his regular business afterwards, and it's like that was always weird to me.
Yeah, so the thing is, I mean, to create these compelling stories, like the situation with the Wills on, oh my gosh, the situation with the Wills with Yoda and the Mortis arc, it created really great television, right? It created really great television, but like you said,
like,
I mean,
Tate,
it's not. It's never addressed.
When like Anakin is like, there are things about the Force they're not telling me. Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, after Mortis, well, yeah.
Yeah, like, right. I mean. See, here's the thing. This is why Clone Wars 2003. Now we're on this. Now we're on Clone Wars 2003, and now big nerdgasm's coming.
I love our Clone Wars more, but 2003 did transition better.
2003 transitioned so much better. So, the situation on Mortis is the rite of passage, essentially, in Clone Wars 2008 for Anakin. But in Clone Wars 2003, he had this big trial. What was the planet? I don't remember. But where you went on this this big native spiritual adventure to grow as a Jedi, and there were not explicit things stated about the Wills and about the embodiments of the Force and all of these things.
Right.
Yeah,
man. And so I love the Mortis arc so much. But for me, it's so hard because then Umbara is just so damn near perfect and just quality television from start to finish. I mean,
oh my god! But they really
like Tate. We were neck deep in the custom clone making bliss that were the early years of the Clone Wars, 2009, and then 2 years later in 2011, when we're still in the thick of it, they transitioned to Phase 2 armor finally. Animated, and we go straight into Umbara. I mean, we were dying. It was so exciting. I mean, it was just amazing. And Umbara is hands down. It's like Mortis is the best arc for Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka.
But the problem with Umbara is
Umbara is the best arc for the clones, hands down.
Yeah, but Dexter Jettster was really ostracized by the community just because he shared the race with big meanie heads. So I kind of hate Umbara for that because Dexter Jettster's the best character in Star Wars.
Yeah, the Basilisks. Yeah,
the Basilisks. They got screwed over.
Big time. Man. I love General Krell.
Krell was great. Krell is, oh my god, that betrayal story was awesome. Done so well.
Okay. Yeah, I love the betrayal of Krell. I think it was perfect, except, man, when they really did it up with the evil last toward the end, even in 2011, I'm like...
It's a little on the nose, but still, overall.
I mean, he's like, you've all been my pawns. You know, it's like, you have this really great character to do in the evil laugh. No. But no, it was amazing, man. I'm nitpicking. Umbara is some of the greatest television ever developed. I mean... the compelling stories that are told between the clones and Rex and Fives and Jesse and Hardcase as they're coming to terms with this general who's sending them on suicide missions, seemingly with no remorse
against other clones, mind you.
I mean, while they're basically fighting, they're basically in the thick of like what is the Vietnam of Star Wars. I mean, like there were a few battles in the Clone Wars that were just nasty.
That were also for nothing but a political
well, I mean,
statement.
all the Clone Wars was for nothing, but I mean,
right, of course.
You know, but it's like, you know, you had a few that were just bad. Right. You know, Umbara, Felucia.
Oh my god, dude, the Felucia arc early on in the series. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, we're with Hardcase and Fives, and it's the first introduction to those characters. I mean, dude.
Oh, you mean in season 2, like when they had their Phase 1 armor?
Yes. That's not Felucia?
No, that was Seleucamai.
That was Seleucamai, right. My bad.
Yeah. Felucia was in, I think, season 2. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka are on Felucia, battling it out during the day. Ahsoka's on top of the turbo tank, deflecting, you know, lasers from the oncoming CI asteroids.
I don't remember that.
And then, you know, they land in front, they pick her up, and then the turbo tank and the ATT, you know, all the Republic forces get decimated. And then I think they crash, and they encounter Suji, the little guy in his big robot mech suit, and Embo for the first time, where we meet Embo. You get to meet all the bounty hunters, and then Hondo, who tries to invade, and then they teach the farmers how to defend themselves a little bit. And yeah, that was the Felucia episode. And I'll be honest, I didn't like the Clone Wars portrayal of Felucia as much as Revenge of the Sith or Battlefront 2s or Legends, because to me, like, and again, I'm nitpicking, I really am.
Felucia is colorful, dude.
Not only is Felucia colorful, but it's nasty and violent. I mean, to me, it's like I always love the descriptions offered by the 501st Journal 2005. You know, flesh-eating diseases, you know, wretched monsters hunting them all the time. That's Felucia. Just the Vietnam of Star Wars.
Well,
you know,
Felucia. I always mix up Felucia and Seleucamai because Seleucamai is kind of just a brown Felucia. Right?
Seleucamai is kind of boring, not gonna lie.
Right, Seleucamai is just brown Felucia. So that I always get that mixed up. But yeah, dude. Okay, Felucia, flesh-eating bacteria, the big Felucian monsters.
Oh yeah, dude, the Acklay.
Yeah, the Acklay.
Yeah.
The Acklay are from Felucia? That's what it is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't remember seeing that episode, dude. I might not have seen that one.
They're not in the Clone Wars. They were in Attack of the Clones, and they made an appearance in 2005 Battlefront 2.
I was thinking of the big bull, like the big bull things on Felucia.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about Acklay.
Yeah, no, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, no, that was all really great too.
Oh, dude, there's a big... Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil Star Wars Land for you a little bit. There's a big Acklay head in one of the warehouses. They have all 3 of the stadium animals.
Wait, where? In Galaxy's Edge?
In Galaxy's Edge, yeah. They have all 3 of the gladiatory arena animals, and there's a big Acklay head. It's super cool, man.
Oh, man, that's a direct tie into Attack of the Clones. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't wait to see that.
I can't wait to see all of it. I'm going to spend like $1,000 on collectibles. I already know.
You know, but Tate, one thing about the Clone Wars that really bothers me is like people still don't like season 1.
Why?
I never understood this criticism.
I haven't even heard that.
You know, the animation wasn't all the way there yet.
But the storylines were fine. The storylines were great.
Oh my god, dude. Ambush. Arguably Yoda's best episode.
Okay, no, the Will's episode at the end is Yoda's best episode. I'm sorry, dude. No, but that's such a great introduction to Yoda. That's such a great introduction to Yoda.
Easily one of Yoda's best scenes. That scene of him in the cave with the clones is iconic.
Oh my god. It shows that Yoda gets shit done, is what it shows.
But yeah, then everything with Malevolence.
Oh my god.
The Rookies episode is...
Rookies episode is incredible, dude.
Legendary.
That's our introduction to our like favorite clones. And then we finally see them in Seleucamai Season 2. Boots on the ground. Yeah. I mean, dude.
And the downfall of a droid when they board the flying separatist base and fight off Grievous. I mean... Bombad Jedi is what it is when Padme goes to Rhodia and gets betrayed by Anaconda Farr and Commander Grisha. And that's, not the best episode of season 1, but still really fun. I loved it as a kid, and it was so cool to see Commander Gree.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it continues in the Cloak of Darkness, I loved Cloak of Darkness with Ventress going up against Luminara and Ahsoka together, and then Captain Argaius and his betrayal.
And then don't forget, I mean, this is way later on in the franchise, but I think we should talk about the Barriss arc, because, I mean, we're pretty much going to see that in Fallen Order. It's all but confirmed.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Christophsis was the first Battle Phoenix Productions. The very first episode takes place in Season 2, if you're talking about chronology.
Yeah.
It's the Siege of Christophsis in Season 2, right? That's the first episode
in Season 2.
Well, like if you look at the official timeline for Clone Wars, doesn't it start with the Christophsis?
You're talking about the clone betrayal episode with that was a prequel episode to the Clone Wars movie.
Right.
Yeah, man, that was it still bums me out that the producers of Jedi Fallen Order are really writing home not Barriss.
They're saying it's not Barriss now? I thought they were saying it was.
No, they said it's not Barriss. It's a new character.
Are you serious?
Remember, I told you this via text.
I don't remember that.
Yes.
Why does my Siri activate when I say, "Are you serious?" It's like not even close to "Hey Siri," but anyway, I must have misread that.
Unfortunately, yeah, dude. No, they've really gone like hardcore saying it is not Barriss.
That's so lame.
And this is that's concerning for me, because what other opportunity is there going to be to Barriss' story than right now? Because if the second sister is the antagonist of Jedi Fallen Order, she has to go at the end.
Mm-hmm.
She either gets killed by Cal, which is the likely scenario, or Vader kills her for failing. She doesn't make it out of this, and so I think that would have been a great place to wrap up Barriss' story if she just, after the Clone Wars, just kind of loses it and just gives in fully to the dark side when she sees everything that she said that would happen come to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And just, kind of has this, it's overwhelmed with this sense of, I was right, the Jedi are all idiots, time to wipe them out with the new Empire. I mean, hell, she was I think Barriss was, she bombed the Jedi Temple and was willing to let her best friend get murdered,
mm-hmm.
who did nothing wrong. I mean, Barriss was more than willing to kill Jedi, and did. And so I think, it makes so much sense for her to be the Inquisitor by the time. And, man, I remember when the Barriss twist first came up in the Clone Wars, and it was so crazy because, back then, the delineation of Legends to canon hadn't really been created yet. There really wasn't that distinction, Legends and canon, because it was 2012, right? It was 2013. It was just after, actually it was 2013. Yeah, it was 2013, just after the acquisition. The conversation of Legends to new canon hadn't really come. And so when we saw Barriss turn to the dark side and become, we saw she was the one responsible for all of what happened in Ahsoka's big arc in season 5. It was jarring because, of course, in Legends, Barriss gets blown up by an ATTE on Felucia.
Right. During the Purge.
Right. And so, but I think what they did in the Clone Wars was a lot more interesting.
Oh, way more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's so strange, dude, that the acquisition happened after Clone Wars had hit its, like, it had all these situations. So, like, right. Clone Wars was just retconning everything, and George was like, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's just crazy. And then Star Wars
did not care.
No, and then Disney now. So. Disney now is just saying, like, okay, that's canon. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really cool, by the way. But
if Disney wiped Clone Wars from canon, I wouldn't have cared about Disney Star Wars.
Yeah.
I would have shut off right there.
Yeah.
But I think.
By the way, I want to say, why the hell is Galaxy's Edge Legends? Because they have colored Kyber crystals, and I thought those weren't a thing anymore. What happened to, like, Kyber crystals forming to the needs of the user? Like, I like that way more than colored Kyber crystals, by the way. Like becoming a blue one if you're a guardian, and a green one if you're, higher force sensitivity and more peaceful. And then having to destroy a Kyber crystal in order to turn it red, as opposed to artificially creating one. I mean, Ross, you're familiar with the Sith Kyber Crystal creation in Legends, correct?
Yeah,
Like
I mean, I'm pretty sure in Legends
building the artificial
they were
one.
synthetic crystals, right?
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
and
But
then so I think
having to
in
make a
canon,
Kyber Crystal bleed is way cooler.
oh, I think so too.
Way cooler. And then like
But
having
I think colored crystals can still be found, right?
well, they can be
In
found.
canon.
They can be found, but it would be like if I found your Kyber Crystal, right? They naturally are blank,
Right.
right? And I think that is
Yeah,
just
but
so much cooler.
they're like a white, but with like a blue glow.
Yeah, but they're still
Yeah, so it's
not,
a little confusing.
but they're still not colored. They're still
Sure.
like they're blank slates. Like even the white ones turn more opaque white than they appear.
Right.
Which white kyber crystals super cool because they're just purified kyber crystals. Freaking awesome! Thank you, Rebels, for that one. I actually think that's cool.
You know what I always loved about the Clone Wars too is its brutality. I mean, I'm just picking through season 3, and I just remember like Savage's transformation breaks his best friend's neck.
Oh my
You
god!
just
Right?
really rough stuff that the Clone Wars delved into because it just was still Star Wars. It was not afraid to do those things, and that was always a hot topic of the Clone Wars was the brutality seen in the show sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember in Toys R Us one time when I talked about my dislike for Rebels, and then I was like, "Oh, Clone Wars is violent." It's like, what do you think's in the name, buddy? Wars.
Right.
You think
Yeah.
it's not star fun battles.
No, these are brutal, realistic. So like here's the thing, if we were in Star Wars, like it's so fun to think about Clone Wars and be like, oh my god, how awesome would it be to be on, Felucia or Seleucami or see the bridges of Caden Nemoidia or see the deep blacks and reds of Umbara. But if you're there, dude, you're getting flesh-eating bacteria like inside of your plastoid armor. You're hating life, haven't eaten in 3 days. You're eating
God, and Felucia's hot.
Right, and then the Jedi eating literal protein capsules as opposed to actual food.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it must have sucked, man.
They show a lot of those in the Clone Wars too. Those protein bars.
Yeah.
That they carried around. Man, what a scene! And it also sees man Ryloth. Oh my
God.
Those episodes. I mean, I can't praise those episodes enough. I mean, there's the amount that's the thing that was so special about this. Not just that it bounced around the different characters in different parts of the galaxy so well, while still keeping Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka as the through line, but just the series when they were doing it. Granted, you could say some episodes were a waste of time, like the whole droid arc in Gregor, garbage. But I mean, when they did an episode, though, they didn't waste any time in any episodes. There was never any wasted time. The amount that they could do in 22 minutes was astonishing.
But
like, think about the 22-minute episode.
Ryloth. Let's talk about that because you just brought that up. The Twilight Civil War.
The first episode of the Ryloth trilogy. I mean, Anakin and Ahsoka face down this blockade in front of Ryloth. Ahsoka tries to lead the squadron. They all die.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is a 14-year-old kid trying to lead a squadron, and she's being put in front in the leading role because she's a Jedi and she has the Force, and that's typically what gives them, the rite of passage to basically be able to lead at any age, is that they have the Force and therefore have, a better, a grander understanding than just a realistic tactical sense that, your everyday you learn of the clones. That being said, they all die. And watching her wrangle,
and then Amagundi dies too, like in the second episode where he has the final stand.
No, well, the Amagundi episode was actually season 4, I believe, and that was a prequel episode.
Oh, okay.
So that all came way later.
I see. It's all mixing together for me, but when you think about the brutality of that situation,
yeah, I mean, but it was so heroic and just so well done, and you felt connected to them because you followed them the whole episode. Amagundi, I love his. They were just so.
This production says we should get a book between Ep2 and Christophsis where we see Ahsoka join the Jedi. But Phoenix, Ahsoka's taken as a child and just raced through the Jedi. So would that be that interesting?
What?
Phoenix is saying we should get a book between episode 2 and Christophsis where Ahsoka joins the Jedi. But that would be interesting because she'd just be a kid, like every other Jedi kid.
Listen, man. The Ahsoka book that was already released that took place a year after Revenge of the Sith, like, that was about the most boring 7 hours of new canon ever. I mean, it was nice to check in on Ahsoka and see how she was doing, bouncing around the different worlds, but it only really picked up at the end.
Yeah.
When the Inquisitors arrived. I mean, spoilers, who cares? And so I don't want another Ahsoka book where we're just wasting time.
But that's what
like,
to me, was a kid, dude. No offense
to
Phoenix.
me, right? And to me, the balance that has to be found in terms of stories for books. Yes, you have to find the stories that don't necessarily warrant a movie, but are still strong enough to make for a thrilling book. And if you are just checking in on a character for 6 hours, I mean, while they, hang out with the Fardy's family and all these other these backwater worlds, listen, man, it just wasn't very entertaining. And it only got interesting when Ahsoka, met up with Bail and, when she really started to get in rebellion toward the end of the book. But it's like, anyway, but I would love another Ahsoka book. If I had to pick a book for Ahsoka to hop in on, I would love a book with Ahsoka, maybe like pre-Rebels.
Mm-hmm. In between,
like just before Rebels. I would love to see her like leading. I'd love the books of her leading Rebel squadrons into battle, working with Bail and Mon Mothma.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could even, if Cal survives his trilogy and dies in this book, that could be really cool from Jedi Fallen Order.
Dude, he needs to die in this game.
I agree.
Make him die. Give us Jedi 2, whatever they're gonna call it, because it's Jedi Fallen Order. Give us Jedi 2.
About this, and it's like, if Jedi is to be a series, I hope that the game, like, entertaining the hypothetical of what future games could be.
So many things. You could jump around. You could jump around the timeline, dude. It doesn't have to be between.
Like, I hope that they're not. I hope it's not just like an Order 66 Survivors series. I mean, like, you can really only do this storyline so many times, where you check in on a Jedi who is not going to make it, who's alive before A New Hope, and they're on the run from the Empire. You can only do this so many times. And after Jedi Fallen Order, I think they've only got maybe 1 or 2 Jedi Survivor stories in them. Or people are just burnt out.
Here's the thing. They made it so... I mean, when Revenge of the Sith first came out, they're like, all the Jedi are dead except for Luke and Yoda and Obi-Wan. Right. All the Jedi are dead. And then they kind of retconned that when the whole Vader thing was like, no, Vader and the Inquisitors were hunting people down all the time. I don't know why this one was held. That was weird. There was a comment that was held, but I don't see anything wrong with it. But anyway, they say, oh no, like the Jedi, they're out there. Anyway, we see Rogue One. We see that Force-sensitive guy. That guy's a great actor, a great martial artist. I don't remember who played him, but we see that Force-sensitive blind guy, and then we see the Rebels cast, and now we see Cal Kestis. Give us a Jedi game that takes place in the Old Republic. Old Republic.
I don't know.
Or give us pre-Clone Wars. Give us post sequel. Give us, be in between sequel and or during sequel time, and there's like a Jedi that had already escaped Vader and is living a farmer life, during the sequel trilogy, and you see the rise of the First Order and all this stuff. I mean, there's so much. We don't have to stick, because we've seen Clone Wars. We've seen in between Clone Wars and original trilogy. We've seen original trilogy.
The only way you make this Jedi series interesting, like you said, is by bouncing around the timeline. Because I mean, it's just it's getting old quick. I mean, and even as far as like a Jedi first survive, it's like we kind of had that with before Vader showed up and impaled his. I mean, I'm looking forward to whatever they wind up doing after it does work out. But EA is so shady that, I mean, the launch could be botched somehow.
Yeah. Ross, when Star Wars is public domain in 2077, dude, I'm going to have so much fun. Let me just say that. When Star Wars is public domain, I'm going to be making I'm gonna write my own Star Wars game as a 78-year-old man.
But yeah, dude. I mean, then we haven't even touched on Maul.
God,
And I mean,
butchered in Rebels, by the way.
oh my God.
Not completely.
I mean,
I don't have as much of a problem with it as you do.
oh, I do. His appearance in Rebels was not only forced, but I mean, they made his character model so bad. They made him this thin, lanky, cartoony Looney Tunes looking guy. And then to have him obsess over Ezra Bridger just to pander to their new characters. I mean, this is the guy who has gone on to build crime syndicate after crime syndicate post Revenge of the Sith, and has done nothing but hone his skills to become more powerful. That's what he's all about because of the rejection and the failure he's faced. Maul is all about getting better.
His role in Solo though is worse, in my opinion.
No, I don't agree because his role in Solo actually makes more sense than anything we saw. Because at that point in time, 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, it makes sense for Maul to be operating a crime syndicate under the radar, hiding from the Empire. The character the problem is, it makes sense in the story, it makes sense in canon, it doesn't make sense for the movie. It's just too much of a coincidence for Han Solo and Kira's story line up so closely with Maul and the crime syndicate he was running at the time. But as far as the problem with Rebels, again, another huge problem with Rebels, the Clone Wars toured around the galaxy by giving the episodes to those characters that they want to show. Instead, Star Wars Rebels takes the Funky Bunch and forces them into stories where they don't belong and takes them around the galaxy unnaturally that way. They just show up and see this character. They show up, they encounter Maul. They meet Ahsoka, which granted, Ahsoka makes sense. But I mean, they meet Saw Gerrera. They meet Captain Rex. They meet Darth Vader. They meet the Grand Inquisitor. They meet Luminara's body. They meet just about every character under the sun who was active during that time.
It's a Forrest Gump situation.
And that was just so counter of what the Clone Wars did, because the Clone Wars, like I said, was perfect because you got to see all those characters because the episodes were given to those characters. You didn't force Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka into every story where they didn't belong.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so I mean, like Ezra in the Twin Sons season 3 episode 8, Disney garbage way to conclude Maul's story, but I mean, he looks like a little Disney fanboy kid who doesn't belong. I mean, when he's sitting there next to Obi-Wan, it just looks wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look right. It's not right. It's unnatural. He shouldn't be there. And Rebels did a lot of that, but to me, it was just the big crime was, with Rebels, with Maul, was after they got through all the Ezra Apprentice crap, was when they finally just had like some kind of samurai, like fanboy moment, the people making the episode, unfortunately Dave Filoni included, where it was like, it was this mental battle. It was the fight began before they ever took a swing because they were changing their footing, and then Qui-Gon and then Obi-Wan adjusted to the Qui-Gon stance, and so therefore Maul in his rage reverted back and then tried the same move that he used 33 years prior on Obi-Wan, now here in the present, and then got killed because of it. It was like, no. First of all, the dialogue would have been different. It would have been more in depth, and they would have mentioned something about their deep past that they've had across the decade.
Remember,
they made Maul just into this like this boogeyman figure that just shows up and is just there as the villain of the week for on to cut down so that Ezra gets to meet. It was garbage. I mean, they did so much justice to Obi-Wan in that episode that they forgot about Maul. That Maul would not have just lost it at that. Guess what? Maul is aging too and growing up, and he was in. This is the cold, calculating Lord who plans out everything, and it's like to see him reduced down to this crappy little rage monster that the Rebels producers had in their mind of him was ridiculous.
Okay, Ross, I'm
Listen,
gonna cut you
I
off right
didn't
there. I'm gonna
want
cut off
like
the
a
Ross rant.
really
I
flashy
am
fight,
vetoing
but
I
if
am
they
vetoing the
just
Ross
had a
rant.
few more swings and just made the fight last for at least a minute, would have been fine.
Okay, now this is Ross is a Jedi Guardian. He has the blue lightsaber, and here's me. I have the green lightsaber. All right, I'm more on the emotional side, the Force side, if you will. I thought that their standoff, that the length of time was great.
I thought it was ridiculous.
I thought the length of time was great, but I think the failure comes in the fact that there was no dialogue based upon their relationship.
No, listen, man. I don't.
Now, Ross, here's the thing: Star Wars doesn't need to all be Star Wars.
He spent 20 years talking to Qui-Gon and really honing his in the Force and becoming, this Force god essentially. But it's like, listen, Maul is no laughing matter either.
But
Maul
Ross, here's
easily could have contended with Obi-Wan for at least a minute, not for very long. Didn't have to be a flashy fight. Didn't need any flips. Didn't need anything crazy. But just a little bit of a longer fight. And again, this is why it should have been in a movie. This was wrong.
Ross, to bring it back. Now in martial arts in the real world, and I know that Star Wars is not even close to the real world.
Right.
But in the real world,
Star Wars, you have the Force.
There is this. For some reason, Phoenix's things are getting hidden. I don't know why. But anyway,
and listen to you. I appreciate like what you're about to go. Like, listen, that to me that a huge part of what made the prequels so great and so exciting were these people in their prime, and you got to see it. Granted, some of it ended in some bad choreographed shots that were goofy, but it's like, but now here we were in 2017 where you didn't have the goofiness, and you could have, because you had Obi-Wan in his prime and Maul in his prime as well, and it's like, to have the fight be that quick and to end that swiftly, and to then try to tell us, oh, it was because of the mental battle that took place while they were maintaining eye contact and their footing and their stances and all this crap. It's like, listen, man, at the end of the day, Maul is it's been 19 years, 18 right. At the time of Rebels.
Ross,
Maul would have Maul is not just some rage monster. He would have, at that point in his life, Maul would have become wiser and more much. He would not have just lost it and then tried to pull a move on Obi-Wan that he tried to do 33 years ago.
So Ross, here's the thing. I like the situation in terms of the fight that takes place. I don't like the rest because there's this old saying in martial arts that a boxer will thrash and fight, and a boxer will always be a boxer, but a martial artist will always keep their cool. A martial artist needs one move, a boxer needs 50, right? So using that detriment and putting it into the scene that a boxer never will learn a new trick is kind of how you have to look at the Sith in general. But I also hear what you're saying about him being a powerful
dangerous user. And a scary and boring precedent that sets for Star Wars. And the sequel trilogy has been nothing but a testament to that.
But here's
we
the thing
have
as
now
well.
reached a point in Star Wars where we are afraid to do lightsaber.
But here's the thing, Ross. Here's the thing as well. I think that there should have been, because they wanted to go for the more, I guess, emotionally, the emotional fight there. They should have had more of a dialogue than they did, right? They should have had more of a dialogue. It shouldn't have just been them thrashing about. But I like. I
haven't even talked about how there should have been a dialogue. Yeah, dude, because it's like, listen, it's like all the context was forgotten.
Right.
These two have been rivals most of their lives.
Right.
Even though they haven't seen each other much, when they do see each other, shit hits the fan and their lives have changed forever. And it's like, this is the guy who butchered his master right in front of him and then forced him to grow in that moment, take up the lightsaber and dismember him, send him down a plasma refinery shaft where Maul, with the power of the dark side, had to keep himself alive like Anakin did on Mustafar. Grab hold of a latch, get through, just in a state of pure shock, rage, and frenzy. And then, God only knows how gruesome it must have been to keep himself alive in those moments. He was thrust on the. and cursed to lose his mind for the next several decades. But then, after decades of eating people and animals and whatever else was thrust down there in that garbage hole, he's found by his brother. He never wakes up in a new world where the Clone Wars has begun without him. Palpatine has moved on without him. The galaxy has moved on without him. I mean, then he finds Obi-Wan. I mean, he starts a civil war on Mandalore, and then kills the only person that Obi-Wan loves the most, and the person that Obi-Wan nearly left the Jedi Order for, right there, killing the only two people Qui-Gon, cared for the most besides Anakin. I mean, this is the guy that killed Obi-Wan's family, and he's now here again, standing before him, prepared to snuff out the last hope of the galaxy, and find and kill him and kill Luke. I mean, and then plunge the galaxy even further into the eternal darkness it found itself into the last 18 years. But no dialogue that even comes close to satisfying that. You have mention of Luke, which I appreciated. I thought that was great. But having no mention of what happened, no mention of Qui-Gon, no mention of anything, and just have Obi-Wan, and just send Obi-Wan spiraling down into this indulgent dialogue of if you define yourself by your power to dominate, to possess, or whatever, then you have nothing. And I mean, just like what are you talking about?
Oh, all of that was lame.
I understand that he's mature. I understand that he's not going to insult Maul, but I mean he's talking to Maul like he's a stranger.
Right. Yeah. So like I said, my biggest issue is the lack of a dialogue. But dude, I appreciate Rebels a lot more than you because it focuses on the more, I guess, non-combat related facets of the Force, and I feel like this episode is no exception. Do I think that there should have been more of a dialogue? Absolutely, but I didn't think there needed to be a minute-long fight. I don't think there needed to be a fight at all. I think that I think that there should have been.
And I appreciate the analogy, but it's like the problem with that is the problem between, with that analogy again is the Force, right? It's hard because again, Maul would no longer have been the boxer, right? Because it has been 30 years since the Phantom Menace when he was the boxer in the Phantom Menace.
That's the whole point of the analogy.
3 years later,
the boxer never changes. The heart of the boxer never changes. That's the whole thing. It's the criticism of ignorance. If you're taught ignorance at a young age, then you'll always be ignorant. It's kind of the point of that message there.
I suppose so, but I mean, even with how much rage he would have been filled with in that moment, because here he is again decades later, still, standing before him. Sure, he could lose it in that moment, no matter how much planning he's done. But I still think he could have lasted a bit longer than that. Again, it doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out duel. Like take Vader. Like again, this is something that I think strikes a perfect balance here. Was that fan creation, that CGI recreation of the iconic Obi-Wan versus Vader fight? That to me is the perfect balance. The fight doesn't go on for very long. It doesn't diminish either character. You get the emotional weight of the scene, and no injustices are done to either character because both the characters are considered deeply enough to where. Could you imagine if the fight, imagine if they put Vader into the same box? Think about it that way. Yes, Anakin Skywalker is the chosen one, but he is now mostly a machine. And while granted he's had years to grow into that painful, apparatus, that machine that is his body, he's, Anakin is at a greater disadvantage to Obi-Wan now than he ever was. But he could still defend himself. He still didn't go down that quick.
Yeah.
That's true. And so
that is true.
I just don't agree with this 3-strike and Maul's done. BS.
But at the same time, I mean, Vader is painted as so much more powerful than Maul as well. Like when you were talking about physical ability, I think that the conversation that needs to be had is more so around the more non-tangible things, like Obi-Wan really being in Maul's head and all of the the analogies about the boxer and whatnot. I think it's kind of unfair to compare them because I mean, think about the Death Star fight, dude. Do you remember Alec Guinness's spin move? I mean, just think, think about that for a second. Like, I do agree that because of chronology that there needs to be some like chronology needs to be respected, and that makes sense to me. But at the same time, dude, I can't get the image of Alec Guinness taking like a 2-minute long circle. Do you remember that little spin move?
Right, but I'm talking. But I mean, granted, you could say in canon, Vader did laugh. I'm creating more of a distinction between the canon version of the fight and then the fan CGI recreation, which I think.
Right. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, dude, that the CGI recreation is what these duels should be. You granted, Obi-Wan was trying to keep Vader distracted for a long period of time and done Anakin too. Obi-Wan's objective was to allow for Luke to escape, so that's fine. But again, 3 strikes and Maul being out like that was absurd. Because Maul, while granted is like you said, prone to being overcome by his rage because he was raised that way, because that came up because of Palpatine and Sidious and the Night Sisters. But I still do believe that he would have been able to compose himself at least enough to not go down that easy and to make that kind of an idiotic move. Because it's like, think about it this way. I mean, okay, Tate. It's like, think about it this way. It's like, would Maul have even remembered the move that he used on Obi-Wan?
Oh, yeah. Think about it, dude. I mean, these are highly intelligent manifestations of a singular emotion.
After all the years that he would have spent working on his craft in the decades that followed, after the Clone War, between the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith and after the Sith, I just don't see it going down that way. And think about it this way. I mean, like, how awful is it going to be in the future if this is what lightsaber fights are now? If lightsaber fights,
I mean, I think that there should be both. I really do. I think there should be both. Like, I don't think that this should be. I don't think that this should be. I don't think every lightsaber fight should be about emotion. But I think when you have 2 characters like Obi-Wan and Maul, it should be. Right? I think when it's something like Rey and Kylo, it should not be, because they haven't tapped into that part of existence yet.
Right. But it's already bad enough with Rey that she's already like the supreme. She's already going to be like the supreme Jedi with only a year's worth of training. But I mean, and again, apparently self-training.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Looking at ancient fossilized books. But
so here's the thing, Ross.
If we don't get, like, in episode 9, if we get something similar and it's a short fight, I'm gonna walk out of the theater.
Oh yeah, no, that won't be okay. No, so here's the thing. Like, I think that the Yoda Palpatine fight should have been based more so around, like, the whole them throwing shit at each other, like, kind of bugs me a little bit, dude. If I'm gonna be honest with you, like, what? I think there should have been more of a bout of skill, and I think that Yoda and Dooku on Geonosis should have been more about a bout of skill as opposed to just defaulting to lightsabers. But like Anakin versus Obi-Wan, that needs to be a lightsaber fight. Rey versus Kylo, that needs to be a lightsaber fight. That there are certain things that need to be our Star Wars.
Right. The Rey versus Kylo Ren in the Force Awakens made sense. Rey was completely inexperienced, and Kylo was wounded by a freaking bowcaster and just killed his father.
Yeah. Okay. So I think screw the people who think that scene was
I think that fight was fun.
No. That fight was good, dude. Do you know what bowcasters do? They rip people apart with 5 bolts. All right, I like Force Awakens a lot. I don't care. I hate the sequel trilogy, but I really enjoy Force Awakens, and I will defend the Kylo Rey fight until the cows come home.
Yeah, no, I still appreciate that. I haven't seen that scene in a long time. I really need to watch Force Awakens.
Force Awakens is genuinely good. It's like an 8 out of 10 for me. I don't know how they messed up so bad.
The Force Awakens is limiting, and it's a bit too much of a consultation package
for defense.
Disney Star Wars.
Right, it's way too much, but like at the same time, it's still better than The Last Jedi, and it was laying the groundwork for an okay trilogy.
Yeah,
I mean, I genuinely got excited when Force Awakens came out. I was like, okay, this is a genuinely good movie.
There are things to pick apart about The Force Awakens. That, I mean, how closely it parallels Hope, but I mean...
But, I mean, at the same time, I'm fine with that, because it's not exactly the same. It's not rhyming, it's mirroring for sure, but...
What I didn't appreciate was how then, in The Last Jedi was then when Rian Johnson took it way too far. Yeah. Recreated the throne room. Recreated Hoth. I was like, granted, Crate is cool with his crystal interior, but...
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
It's like... Tate, it's like, get away from me with this poetry, it rhymes crap. Get away from me with this overindulgence on practicality to where we are bored out of our minds in deserts and forests. Get away from me with all this stuff. I've had it spoon-fed. We've all had it spoon-fed to us for too long. And I love that they're trying, and I love the passion that they have for what they're trying to do, but enough is enough. And I hope Rise of Skywalker will see the end of this lack of creativity in Star Wars that has been found in the, because Rogue One found the perfect balance. Arguably, Solo did to some extent too. Granted, Solo also had some very boring planets. But yeah,
I mean, at least Kessel was all right. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just completely plain.
Right, Kessel was okay.
Yeah.
Man,
isn't that so disappointing though? I mean, this is what we were talking about earlier with certain things just being ambiguous. Like, keep the Kessel Run ambiguous, man. We did not need to see that on screen.
Right. Yeah.
We did not need to see that on screen.
And so, I mean, I hope that future anthology movies and future story movies will respect the characters a bit more. We all I feel like talking about. But yeah, man. I mean, we could go on and talk about the Clone Wars and everything for a while, but we have already been going on for like an hour. Tate.
Yeah, dude. I think it's a good place to.
Yeah, it's been great. I think Tate, we're gonna go maybe hop on some Halo Combat Evolved down.
Oh yeah, Ross is running me through Halo. I've never played. I played Halo Reach. I played a little bit. I played missions here and there with my little brother, but I have never gone through the entire Halo franchise. And Ross is taking me through.
Sure. So we're gonna go keep doing that to check in. Chat one last time. Say goodbye. Thank you guys so much for joining in. Ian, dude, Simon, Crystal, Little Blue, Golden Light is. Phoenix Productions, thank you guys so much for being here. Sorry I didn't really get to as many of your questions toward the later half of this show as I would like, but I really appreciate you guys dropping in to come. And Tate does also.
All right, so keep in mind, guys, we are inevitable. Thank you guys so much for coming out.
Take care.